Hi guys, James at RampantLionReviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to stick to Sweden and we're going to head up towards Gothenburg once again, the Swedish craft beer capital up on the west coast, Göteborg as you would say in Swedish, and we're going to have a look at another beer from one of my favourite Swedish craft breweries, one of the more established names over here of course, and this is the first of a kind of three-parter mini-series that we will be doing from these guys over the next couple of videos. So for this one then we are going to go back to Bryggeri and we're having a look at the first of their 15th anniversary beers. So this one is just simply called the 15 IPA. It comes in at 7.5% ABV and it's brewed to celebrate, you know, as I say, their 15th anniversary. There's a sour beer as well and there's also a stout, and you'll see those appear on the channel over the next week or so actually. So really looking forward to trying this one. I've always enjoyed a beer from Dugges and these guys really are producing some very nice IPAs these days. There's the Crush series, there's the Fresh series, and I think there's another one actually as well, but very nice IPAs in my experience. I tried one or two of them when I was actually at the Brewers Beer Bar on Tredje Långgatan in Gothenburg, and they were very nice actually. So really curious to see how this one turns out. It's been a good while actually since I've had an IPA from Bryggeri. I think most of the reviews over the last little while have actually been stouts. So yeah, nice to go back to the lighter end of the spectrum, and I'm curious to see what the sour beer has in store for us, because it's been a while since I had a sour from Bryggeri as well, and of course we do have the stout, which is a style we are quite familiar with when it comes to Dugges. So yeah, let's see how we get on with this one. The 15th anniversary IPA coming in at 7.5% ABV. So as always with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery before we taste the beer. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I've done from Bryggeri before. There must be about 20 or so of them down there, and no doubt there will be more in the near future. There's all the usual social media down there as well. If you want to see more reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel of course has a geography based tagging system, so you can go into the home page and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, prefecture, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlists of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the Swedish beers that I've reviewed for you. That's constantly being added to, and as always please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, to tell you a little bit about Bryggeri then, on to my brewery notes. So as I've told you before, Bryggeri are based in Landvetter, which is out to the kind of east, if I remember correctly, of Gothenburg in Sweden on the west coast. The brewery was established originally back in 2005 in Mölndal, to the south of the city, by Mikael Engström Dugge. And a few years previously to this, Mikael had met an Englishman who was selling second-hand breweries, and this really got him thinking about brewing his own beer. So he studied the Swedish alcohol laws quite extensively, doing a lot of research. He visited other breweries, and then he started buying equipment to put together his own brewery, which culminated in the opening of their first facility in Mölndal back in 2005. Over the next few years he continued to expand and sell these beers, and they very quickly outgrew their first premises, and so they moved to Landvetter in 2010. So the older brewery had a total capacity of around 1,500 hectolitres of beer per year, but the new brewery started off with a capacity of 8,000 hectolitres per year, and this has more than doubled in recent years. Over the years the brewery have become well known for fruit and sour beers, and more recently they've been investing heavily in their barrel aging programme, as well as producing more IPAs. So the brewery are also one of the co-owners of the two Brewers Beer Bars in Gothenburg, which they co-own with All In Brewing, one of the gypsy breweries from the Gothenburg area, and I'm not sure if Mikael's daughter Ida and her husband Peter are also co-owners in there as well. They of course own the Electric Nurse brewing company, who brew pretty much all of their beers at Bryggeri as well. So yeah, the Brewers Beer Bars are really where you want to go if you want some nice craft beer in Gothenburg, co-owned by, as I say, Dugges, All In Brewing, and I think partly by Electric Nurse as well. So yeah, really interesting brewery this one. As I've said to you, I must have reviewed about 20 beers or so from these guys. Now, definitely one of my favourite Swedish craft breweries, and you are pretty much guaranteed a good beer from these guys, whatever style it happens to be. If it's a lager beer or whatever, you will get a nice beer out of it. I need to try a few. They've got a Schwarzbier and they do have a Pilsner that I need to try. I'll try and see if I can get those at some point. But yeah, recently they've been doing a lot more IPAs. They've got the Crush and the Fresh series, which are really, really nice actually. They've got the Grand series of Imperial Stouts, which are released fairly often through Systembolaget. Some of those are really, really interesting. They're adding a lot of different things into the stouts and seeing. I've also had some really interesting beers from the Barrel Age series as well, Tonka Bean quadruples and barley wines and stuff like this, which have been very, very interesting. So yeah, if I was going to recommend a Swedish brewery, this is one that I really, really do recommend that you try. Pretty much any style you get from these guys is going to be very, very good. And as I've told you before, Gothenburg is the Swedish craft beer capital. There's a lot of very, very good breweries up there. So yeah, that's all you really need to know about Dugges Brewery for the moment. If you want to learn more, of course, you can check out the brewery website in the description below. You can follow them on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with all the latest goings on. And of course, you can check out the Rate Beer, Untappd and Beer Advocate pages to learn more about all the different beers that they've done. The number of beers, I'm sure when I looked on Untappd, it said they'd only done about 70 beers, but you know, when these guys have been around since 2005, I'm pretty sure the number that's there is not accurate, because you know, Untappd wasn't around back in 2005. So yeah, let's get on with this one then and see what we have. So as I said to you at the start of the video, this one is their 15th anniversary IPA, and I've got some information on hops for you for this one, because this one has quite a few. It's got quite the hop list in it, I have to say. So it says this is 15 IPA, celebrating that Dugges in the year of 2020 is turning 15 years old. We've brewed 3 very special beers. This is 15 IPA, an IPA with 15 different hops. We've put Amarillo, Cascade, Citra, Chinook, Columbus, Mosaic, Simcoe, Nelson Sauvin, Equinaut, Zythos, Laurel, Kohatu, Centennial, Racal and Waimea hops in there. What more could you want? Juicy. So yeah, let's kind of go through these then. So the ones that I do, that I've had quite regularly, I won't give you too much information on, but Amarillo we know is a big oily orange hop. Cascade is the classic the classic hop that was used in all the West Coast IPAs. Lovely kind of grapefruity notes, can give you some softer notes in there as well. Citra we know, mango, lots of tropical fruit complexity. Chinook is the big piney resinous hop, good bit of dark grapefruit. Columbus, that typical spicy floral aromatic thing. Mosaic we know as being quite light and tangerine and orangey. Simcoe is a nice kind of softer passion fruity note in my experience. Nelson Sauvin is the famous New Zealand hop. You know, it really gives you a lot of these kind of white, green, grapey sort of things. Equinaut we know for being quite limey, and then the other one there that we know quite a lot about is Centennial, which is quite lemony and sometimes lemony sherbety actually. So these are the ones that are kind of fairly common to us in Europe, but I've got information on some of the other ones here that you don't find all that often. I always think this is quite nice actually. I have had all of these hops before, but you don't find them too often actually. So the Zythos hop is another American hop. This is bred by Hop Union. It's supposed to give you tangerine, grapefruit and pineapple. It comes in the 10 to 12% alpha acid region. Laurel hops, it is another Yakima Valley hop, American hop. It was previously known as HBC 291, and it's supposed to give a lemony citrus and dark kind of fruity flavour, but it also has a floral, earthy and herbal quality to it apparently. I think that was around, I want to say Laurel was around 8% alpha acid. Kohatu, the next 3 hops are New Zealanders. Kohatu is a New Zealand hop released back in 2011 by the New Zealand Plant and Food Research Institute. It's supposed to give you some nice limey, pineapple-y and piney notes. 6 to 7% alpha acid, so a little bit lower. Named after the New Zealand word for rock, of course. Racal was one of the hops that I discovered back in 2015. This is a beautiful hop actually. So this was originally bred back in New Zealand back in the 70s, but then released in 1983, and then it disappeared for a while before being re-released in 2007. It gives you mangoes, apricots, pears and stone fruits apparently, and this one comes in between 6 and 11% alpha acid. So Waimea is the last one that we're going to talk about. This is another New Zealand hop bred by the New Zealand Plant and Food Research Institute. It's supposed to give you tangerine, grapefruit and piney resins, and it's got alpha acids between 16 and 19%, so it is a bit of a monster, I have to say. So I think this beer is going to be a whole kind of fruit cocktail sort of thing. We'll just need to see what stuff actually comes out of this. But yeah, those 5 hops are ones that you don't come across all that often over here in Europe, but probably those of you watching in different parts of the world are a little bit more familiar with them than I am. But all of the hops in this beer are pretty damn good. So a 15 hopped IPA. I don't know how many they actually name on the bottle. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. They do name all 15 of them. So yeah, this one is going to be a bit of a beast. But this one contains wheat and oats, so I think we're in for a nice kind of smooth and creamy malt base with this one. Some of the Dugas IPAs for a while were adding rice into it a little bit. So yeah, it's, you know, those ones I really liked actually. But it says on the side here as well, thank you to all and everyone who supported us by enjoying our beers since that first ever mashing by Mikael Engström Duga, or Mikael Duga Engström 15 years ago. We raise our glasses for you. Cheers. So yeah, there you can see the nice artwork on this one. The Dugas 15 IPA, or I should be saying Femton, actually, I should be saying Femton, I'm not sure. But there you can see, there is one of the Dugas symbols there. There's the nice wee message from Mikael Engström Duga, the one with all the hop list, if you want a quick look at that. Plain bottle cap on this one. Dugas have always had the plain bottle caps. I really do think it'd be nice if they had black ones that just said Dugas or with a D or something like that on them. Personalised bottle caps are always quite nice. Plus I want a Dugas one for my collection, so selfish point of view there. But yeah, this one looks really nice. So without further ado then, let's get this guy out and we'll get on with the tasting then. So it says the best before date on this one is the 26th of the 3rd, 2021. So I'm guessing this one has been in the bottle since the 26th of March this year, so it should be just in nice condition. As I say, this one was released through Systembolaget on the 5th of May 2020 as part of the Tillfällig assortment, along with the sour and the stout. So yeah, let's see how we get on with this one actually. And I'll tell you straight away, you can smell some lovely fruity notes out of this. There's a lot of soft kind of tangerine oranges there, good bit of lime for me, and you can get all of these lovely kind of tropical fruits, and that's just from being this distance away from it. I'm about 50 centimetres away from the beer, I would say. But yeah, you know, this one, I'm sure this is going to be an absolute beast. You know, and it's a 15th anniversary beer and it's Dugas. You know, if ever there's a time to expect a good beer, now is it. So yeah, just be aware with this one, going in with a few preconceptions. I think this is going to be a really damn impressive beer. So yeah, for this one, as you can see, this is poured a lovely kind of, this one's almost leaning towards the kind of pineapple juice colour end of the spectrum, if you like. That statement doesn't make sense. But yeah, you can see this one's definitely one of the paler New England IPAs you're going to come across. It looks a little bit like pineapple juice or mango juice or something like that. You can see it's poured with a good half finger of a frothy, I would say perfect white head on this one. One or two big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass there, a few little ones going up towards the bottom of the head there. But you know, overall it looks pretty nice. If I stick my fingers behind the glass, you can see this one has a really high degree of haze to it. One or two, I can see there is actually quite a few little bubbles going up towards the bottom of the head there, but in terms of its appearance, there's nothing particularly surprising about this beer in terms of its appearance for a New England IPA. There's really nothing out of the ordinary with this. So yeah, let's take a closer look at the aroma then and see how we get on. Ooh, this smells nice actually. First impression of this, what I'll say straight away is when you take the aroma of this in for the first time, you're going to notice it does lean towards that wheaty end of the IPA spectrum. There is a good bit of the wheaty bitiness coming out of this one. It's got a little bit of that astringency to it, which is nice. But yeah, really, in terms of the New England sort of IPAs, it's leaning towards that kind of treehouse end of the spectrum, which is of course the more kind of wheaty, florally, bitey kind of thing. You do get a good little bit of that out of this. But the more that you smell of it at the front of the nose, you do start to get the oaty creaminess out of it and those almost kind of slightly milkshakey smell notes. There isn't lactose in this one obviously, but you do start to get a little bit, you do start to just get a wee bit of these kind of sweeter, kind of creamy notes coming out of this beer, which is very, very nice. So yeah, I like how the aroma in this one goes together. The malty base in this is really nice. There's maybe just a little bit of biscuit to this one, like that typical kind of McVitie's digestive sort of thing. You'll find that in the sort of middle of the nose. So as I say, it feels like towards the front of the nose you're getting the more kind of creamy notes out of it, but then towards the back of those you're getting the stronger bitey, wheaty qualities. So I really like how this goes together. So it really, the more and more you smell of it, the more it starts to kind of smoothen out. So just be aware the aroma of this one will evolve a little bit as you smell it more and more. But I could sit and smell this thing all day. This is a beautiful beer actually. I wish I lived in Gothenburg, because then I could go and actually try it on tap for you as well. I wish they would release more of their IPAs through Systembolaget actually. That's one of my criticisms of Dugges at the moment, is they're not releasing enough IPAs. They're releasing a lot of stouts at the moment, which, you know, the stouts are good. I'm not complaining about the stouts, but I do wish they would, for the last couple of months it has been stout that I've had from these guys. I've not had other styles as far as I can remember. So yeah, it would be nice to see Dugges releasing a few more of the other different beers. But yeah, the fruity side of this is crazy. So let's look at the green side of the hops quickly. So for me, the green side of this beer, it leans towards the grassy side of things, which I'm surprised about, because there is Chinook and I think, was there Columbus? Yeah, there's Columbus in there as well. So you would expect this to be quite big and piney and quite, you know, floral and spicy with those two hops in it, because those are quite popular bittering hops. Cascade, to a degree, can be a bittering hop as well. But to me, the green side of this beer, it really leans towards that kind of lighter, softer, grassy end of the spectrum, which I did not expect. You do get a wee teeny bit of earthiness from this one. Cascade and I think Mosaic will give you a little bit of that, but the question is, how much influence is each hop really going to have actually? When there's 15 in there, it's going to be difficult. I don't think anyone really will be kind of pushing its way out. I think it'll be one of these ones that they've got a really solid base there, and it'll just be little bits and bobs of each hop that's been put in here. The beer that this reminds me of actually are the 19 and the 20 that Mikkeller did a while back, the one that had the 20 different hop varieties in it and the 19 hop varieties. That must have been back in 2015 or so, 2014 actually, that I reviewed the 20. That was a lovely beer actually. I need to try that again now that my palate's a bit better. But yeah, the fruity side of this one, it's got a lot of these very kind of soft tropical notes. It seems to have a very soft kind of tropical base to it, you know, apricots, mangoes, pineapple definitely. You've got all of these kind of things forming the backbone of it. I don't get too much of the more pungent passion fruit or grapefruity notes out of this one. That's not in there so much, but you do get a nice little bit of of soft kind of tangerine orangey notes out of this. And if you've got Amarillo, Mosaic and things in there, and then you've got these other New Zealand hops, the Rakau and the Waimea, that will give you the orange as well, that's not surprising. So yeah, there is a good little, as I say, you mainly sit with the kind of soft tropically fruits in this one that I mentioned, but also a good little bit of a kind of tangerine orange kind of thing. And you can also pick out little bits and bobs of lime in this one, but the lime is very subtle, and there is a wee bit of a kind of lemony note in there. It is a sort of lemon-lime mix that you're getting, but I would say that overall, the fruity character to this one, it's mainly like that sort of papaya, apricot-y, mango-y type quality, and then a bit of a kind of orangey note to this one. I'm surprised that there's not more of a kind of grapefruity, passion-fruity presence to this one, but you know, this one I think comes across very, very nicely. Actually, the aroma of this really is very, very good, but obviously when you've got so many hops in it, you would think it would be a little bit more complex than this, but I'm sure some of that will start to come out in the flavour actually. So yeah, just take a bit of time and enjoy the aroma of this one before you get stuck into it, but I think this is going to be a monster. So this one is the 15 Femton IPA for the 15th anniversary at Dugges Brewery up in Landvetter near Gothenburg here in Sweden. Big shout out to Mikael Engström Dugge. He's messaged me a few years over Facebook and things on the channel. But congratulations for your 15th anniversary, and you know, long may it continue. Hail Dugges, Skål. Yeah, that's a really, really nice beer, this one. Yeah, it's very soft actually, and it really is very, this is one of the creamier ones that I've had from Dugges from what I've remembered. This might be the creamiest release I've had from them in the bottle actually, but I would say, first impressions, it is kind of like I was thinking from the aroma. It does lean a little bit more, it towards the back of the palate, it really leans a little bit more towards the kind of wheaty, bitey side of things. So yeah, I really like how this goes together. I mean, it's it's interesting because when you take it in the first instance, it's very creamy and smooth, but then when it sort of dries out on the palate a little bit, you really get more of these wheaty, kind of bitey flavours out of it. So this one really has quite an interesting kind of impact and transition to it. So yeah, let's just try and break this down a little bit then and see how we get on. The fruity side of the beer is quite interesting as well, because the fruity side is quite different in the flavour to the impression that it gives you in the aroma. So yeah, straight away with this one you get that nice kind of, you get a nice bit of that kind of smooth white bready quality that just blankets the middle of your tongue. As I say, when you go towards the back of the palate, you do start to get more of those kind of bitey, astringent, wheaty sort of things. As you come further forward from that, you get a wee bit of a, you do get a little bit of a kind of biscuity note. There is a wee bit of a biscuity sweetness in the centre of the palate. That will be covering up the booziness, but as the flavour evolves you can feel more of the kind of bitiness from the wheat just pushing its way forward and sort of encircling the little sweet biscuity part of the palate. But then as you move further forward on the tongue, so obviously you've got 3/3 on the tongue. The back third for me is often the kind of sort of grainy, bitey sort of thing. So for me here in the back third of the tongue I'm getting the wheaty bitiness. In the middle of the tongue I'm getting the sort of sweet biscuity type note out of this, but you can feel the wheaty notes, the bitey wheaty notes just kind of encircling that a little bit, and as you reach the front of that second third of the tongue you can feel the oaty creaminess there, and the oaty creaminess kind of moves out towards the side of the palate a little bit as well. So it's really interesting how these different flavours come together, and the further you go into the aftertaste the sweetness kind of fades away a little bit, the bitiness moves back towards the back of the tongue, and then the creaminess sort of starts to spread over the kind of middle third of the tongue a little bit more as well. So it's really interesting how the malty side of this beer evolves, how the flavour of that just evolves the further you go into the aftertaste with this beer. But yeah, the fruitiness out of this is really quite nice. It's very complex, right enough. And you know, sometimes there is something to be said for simplicity, you know, choosing one or two hops and, you know, going with a combination. It does work for that in this beer, but I find it it leans very much towards the citrusy side of things. That's the impression I've got. It really leans towards the citrusy side of things rather than the tropical side of things. For me, which is quite interesting. But we'll look at the fruity side of the beer in just a little bit of a minute. So on the green side of the hops then, back corners of the palate you can get a little bit of earthiness out of it. As you move further forward from that you do start to get a bit of a kind of piney resinous sort of thing, and that sort of spreads forward on the front towards the front corners of the palate, and you do have, it does actually become a little bit dank, but then you've got some nice, you do have a nice little bit of a, how do you say, you do get a nice little bit of spicy floral aromaticity out of this beer, which is really quite nice. So yeah, you can feel the Columbus pushing its way out of this one, but of course you've got other hops in there that are very high alpha acid, such as the Waimea. And pretty much all of the hops in this, you know, Mosaic is 14%, I'm sure Simcoe's like 11, Citra can be like 14, you know, all of these hops, quite a few of these hops have very high alpha acid content, so all of them will be contributing to the bitterness that this beer has. But that said, it's not going to blow you away in terms of bitterness. I think this one might be about 40, 50 IBUs, something like that, which of course isn't much in comparison to the old 80 that you used to have, at least from the West Coast IPAs. But you do have a nice kind of spicy floral aromatic note there underneath, but the piney resins I think kind of linger in this one. As you go round the front curve of the palate though, you get that nice lighter grassy element to the beer, and then of course you've got the fruity esters that come out in that little oily bubble behind the front curve of the tongue, on the front third of your tongue I should say. So like I said, I find this one leans a little bit more towards the citrusy side of things. So yeah, for me, this one I really do think it leans towards the citrusy end of the spectrum. I find it quite sort of, I find it quite limey and gooseberry like actually. I'm really sure that's where for me you can detect the other sort of subtleties to it, but this one for me more than anything else, it leans towards this sort of gooseberry and kind of limey, sort of lemon limey type flavour actually. It's really interesting that, because when you've got all these other hops in there you'd expect there to be a bit more of kind of something else, to be honest with you, but it just kind of, it goes to show you a little bit you know, sometimes certain hops might dominate. So maybe the Nelson Sauvin is dominating a little bit. Maybe the Equinox is dominating, and you know, the Kohatu. Is it the Kohatu that gives you a little bit of lime? I forget now with all these ones. But you know, for me it's the limey notes and the sort of green white grapey notes from the Nelson Sauvin that are dominating in this, which I wouldn't have expected. I would have thought with all the other stuff in there, I thought this beer would have had a good bit of an orangey quality to it, which in fairness it does have. I can feel some of the orangey notes kind of coming out now, and you do get a little bit of the darker tropical fruit as well, which is interesting. So let's try and break that down. If you go towards the back of that oily bubble in your palate, you will get little bits and bobs of the kind of grapefruity, passion fruity note in there. And as you push further forward from that, you can feel there are little bits of, you know, the mango note that you'll get from the Racal and from the Citra in there, and the other hops too. So you do get a little bit of that, and then you can pick up some of the tangerine orangey notes just sitting in front of that, which will be from, you know, Amarillo will be contributing to that, the Waimea will contribute to that, the Mosaic will contribute to that as well. All of them will contribute to that, and you do notice those the further you go into the aftertaste. You've seen how long it was since I took a sip of this beer, and I am starting to notice the orangey character now. But at the same time, you do have this kind of underlying white, green, grapey quality, and as you move just almost towards the edge of the palate, you do get quite a bit of a lemon, limey, zesty kind of thing out of this. You really feel the zestiness building on the edge of your palate in this one. So for me, overall, I would say that the most prominent fruity characteristics for me are the kind of lemon, limey zest, which will be your it will be your Equinox that will be giving you that. I think the Kohatu will give you it to some extent as well. Citra can contribute to that, to the lemon, limey qualities to a degree, and then Nelson Sauvin, of course, is your big kind of white, green, grapey hop. You know, it's interesting that, you know, they could have used a little bit of Enigma, because it's got the white, green, grapey notes, the Australian hop, but it's got a little bit of a red kind of fruity note to it. Is it Malteke, if I remember rightly, or is it Maltere that has some limey notes to it as well. So yeah, there are other hops in there that are quite limey too. I'd be interested to know what their idea behind choosing all of these different hops were, if they were going for a certain flavour profile or something like that, because you know, there's so many kind of different things in this one. The Zythos, of course, and Laurel, I think they are maybe you know, they're maybe you don't detect kind of too much of those, but when you've got so many hops in there, it's difficult to say, you know, what is doing what. But I'm finding as well, on the side of the palate, you do get a little bit of an almost woodiness coming out of this one. The further you go into the aftertaste, there is a little bit of woodiness kind of evolving out of this beer as well. So I would say that it is a nice IPA, and you can tell it's got a solid base, but you know, maybe there is something to be said. Maybe there is just kind of too many hops in here, and it gets, and you know, it just sort of, a lot of the things are maybe lost on it, you know. But I can understand why they put 15 hops in it. It's a bit of a novelty for their 15th anniversary, but maybe it is a little bit, there's maybe just a little bit too much in this one for it to kind of cope with, because I think partly a lot of the flavours that you would normally get from each of these hops individually, they're probably lost just to the sheer number of hops that are in there. But that's to take nothing away from the beer. As a New England IPA, this is really, really nice. It is really well done, and as I say, I find that it leans more towards a sort of it leans towards a kind of citrusy IPA for me. It's quite limey. It's quite, you know, it's quite lemon limey rather than anything else, and it's got a good bit of the kind of Nelson Sauvin white grapey note in there as well. There are a bit of the, you know, there is a bit of the darker tropical fruit, but yeah, it is a nice beer, make no mistake about that. But you're not going to, when there's 15 hops in there, some of the fruity notes and some of the subtleties of the different hops, they do kind of just blend together a little bit. But yeah, it gets a thumbs up from me. I wouldn't hesitate to drink this one again. But yeah, I think, you know, 15 hops is a big ask for an IPA for them all to shine. So yeah, I would say to Dugas, stick with this recipe. You know, maybe develop like a New Zealand IPA, develop an American New England IPA, and you know, keep experimenting with the hops. That's what you want. It'd be cool to see these guys release like a single hop series or something. You know, educate beer drinkers about all these different hops that are available. Because you know, 15 hops, and quite a few of these, you know, Zythos and Laurel in particular are ones that I hadn't come across very often in 2,200 beer reviews. So yeah, that would be a cool project for Dugas, the single hop series. But yeah, more and more you drink of this, you will find a bit more of the tropical fruit pushes its way out there as well. So those kind of mangoey, papaya, apricot notes as well. You do get more and more of that you drink of it, but I would stick to that. I really think this leans towards the kind of citrusy end of the spectrum for me. But in terms of the mouthfeel, I think this beer, you know, it's fairly mid-bodied. The carbonation's really smooth on this one. It does have a degree of wetness to the mouthfeel. The water feels clean, of course, but then it really does become a little bit more kind of smooth rather than anything else. Nice little bit of kind of hoppy bitterness. This one, as I say, I think this is at least 40 IBUs, maybe 50. Malt base is really smooth, a little touch of sweetness in there. Then you've got some nice kind of juicy, fruity qualities to this beer as well. So yeah, it is really quite nicely done, this one. So big thumbs up to Dugas Brewery for this one, their 15th anniversary IPA. This is a solid beer in my opinion, and it's one that you definitely need to try while it is available. I'm not sure how widely available this one's going to be, because I tried to order this online rather than going to Malmö for it. Then at the 10 AM when it wasn't there, they wouldn't let me order, so I was like, well, I can take an hour or two from work just now, let's go to Malmö and get these beers, and then I did it. So yeah, I'm not sure how widely available this one's going to be, but try and get a hold of this one if you can, because I think it's a novelty beer and it is really quite well done. I do wish Dugas would release more of these IPAs. But yeah, let's leave it at that for this review. This one is definitely worth trying, and I certainly enjoyed reviewing this for you. So if you like a nice kind of citrusy, zesty type New England IPA, this one is going to tick the boxes for you. So yeah, happy 15th anniversary rather to Dugas once again, and we will check out the other two beers over the next few videos. Thank you again for watching. Please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Dugas Brewery. If you're watching from abroad, this is a Swedish brewery that you really want to check out, and I'd highly recommend them. But thank you again for watching, and I will catch you guys very soon. Slàinte, skål, cheers. This was the 15 IPA from Dugas Brewery, 7.5% from Landvetter near Gothenburg here in Sweden. Skål.